It's Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely. We are coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our homes here on this Top 5 Tuesday. As we prepare to discuss sports of local, regional, and national impact, interest, importance, all of those things, and then some. Got some interesting stuff to get into, as we typically do. It is All-Star Game night tonight after the Home Run Derby from last night. And what's the opposite of entertainment, Wade?
Let's see.
Just kind of think on that a little bit, because there was an event prior to the Home Run Derby last night that I wasn't going to talk about, but there's been more to come to light with regard to it that makes it certainly captivating. So we will be getting into that later on in the show. Again, it is All-Star night tonight. The National League and the American League will face off in the Midsummer Classic in Arlington. We'll talk a little bit about that. In the second hour, at the top of the second hour specifically, we will be visiting with the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, as we do practically every Tuesday. And hopefully we'll be able to hear him as opposed to last Tuesday. Knock on wood. SEC Football Media Days continue out in Dallas. Day 2 today. We will talk a little bit about that and other things across college football and involving college football figures as well. And it is Top 5 Tuesday, as we mentioned. So in our final segment, Wade and I will bring you our Top 5 MLB All-Star Game moments. So that should be fun, I think, as we go back down memory lane with those. So a lot of fun. Big show. Wade, what you think?
Man, it's going to be a good one, Mo. I'm looking forward to today, and I've consumed enough caffeine, had a full night on the gridiron, the digital gridiron last night, and now, I feel like I finally got enough sleep. I finally got enough caffeine. I'm ready to go today for today's show.
So who are you playing as? I mean, are you playing as a team in particular, or are you just kind of bouncing around and seeing who you like, doing a little evaluation?
Last night was kind of just the feeling out process. Let's see. Played a couple games with Michigan for the Maize and Blue. Got absolutely throttled playing as Colorado versus Tennessee. Big Orange Nation will be glad to hear that. And then played one game. You got to go triple option in college football. So I played one game, Army versus Navy, and it was a nail biter that didn't go my way. So kind of a mixed bag of results last night, and we haven't even got into the dynasty portion yet. Still waiting on a couple friends to get their copy of the game before we jump into that one. So
I saw something on Twitter. I don't remember if it was yesterday or over the weekend, but apparently Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter were playing, and Shedeur Sanders beat Travis Hunter on a Travis Hunter pick six.
Oof. Yeah. They were going toe-to-toe, I think, on Sunday, and this game is getting crazy. I haven't checked the numbers for today, but at one point yesterday, they were close to 800,000 active players. And this is still during the early release portion of the game. So across.
So the game has not been officially released, right?
Yeah, this is just the pre-order, if you will. And luckily, a friend in a very low place was able to snag a code from EA Sports for me. So we got the copy delivered yesterday and got some game time. But this game is putting up crazy numbers. We'll have to talk to Matt Brown again at some point, because he told us that, Madden is probably still going to outsell this game by leaps and bounds, but the traffic online was just insane yesterday.
I love your mention of friends in low places. I saw something on Facebook yesterday, a meme. When you realize you are the friend in low places, and it's a picture of Garth looking a little baffled. I just thought it was kind of funny and
I
ironic.
asked him too. I said, "Do you want me to shout you out on air today?" And he said, "No. Just tell him you got a friend in a low place." So we're thankful for that, and the gridiron battles will continue, and we'll see. I actually added Matt Brown as a friend on PlayStation, and he, we're maybe going to get a game going. If we do, I feel like that will be must see TV, and we'll try and record that for a clip.
That would be awesome. That would be great if you could do that and kind of record the trash talk between the two of y'all as well. That'd be
we'll
fun.
see. And I don't want to say this because Chip's here today, or we're alums and whatnot, but MTSU I feel like will be a fun dynasty to maybe get going. So whenever the online dynasty does crank up, we'll keep everybody abreast of the situation, because there's a lot hanging in the balance here. This could be your chance at online glory.
Oh, I think I'm glad that I've not gotten into gaming, because I've got a little bit of an addictive type personality, and it'd be 5 o'clock in the morning and I'd still be up playing probably. So yeah, that's
productivity for most jobs, I feel like this week is probably going to be a little lower. And then, bosses that aren't hip to the situation probably wonder, why is Tom, really struggling at his desk today? Little does he know, Tom was up till 5 a.m., slamming Red Bulls and going to battle with 12-year-olds online. So
now, if you've got the right boss who's also gaming, then you're in a good spot.
Then it all makes sense, right? Yeah, then he's dragging just as much as you are.
Exactly. That's what we're looking like today. So let's go ahead. I hesitate to rush into this given what we're working with, but let us give you yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
All right, folks, buckle up. Yesterday's rundown, we go through the schedule, and hang on, I'm looking.
Look hard.
Still looking.
Don't look too hard, I guess.
Hang on. MLB, no. Sounds, no. WNBA, no. MLS, AF, no. Well, it looks like there were no results of major importance from yesterday on our rundown today. I'm sorry to report that.
Or minor importance, apparently. Yeah. So, today's schedule. At 7 o'clock tonight on Fox, you've got the All-Star game, the National League taking on the American League in Arlington, Texas. WNBA action today. We've already got one final as the Phoenix Mercury defeated the Washington Mystics 96-87. Tipping off at the bottom of the hour, Seattle is at Los Angeles. 6 o'clock tonight on Amazon Prime, you can see the Connecticut Sun at the New York Liberty. And at 9 o'clock on Amazon, it is the Chicago Sky and the Las Vegas Aces. That should be fun. That is also your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch items, which are available until 6 o'clock. Also, their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And, I'm not sure in the grand scheme of things how big a deal this is, but it feels to me like a big deal. The Chicago Bears opened training camp today. Well, rookies were supposed to report to training camp today. They have 2 rookies who are still unsigned. One of whom is their projected starter at quarterback, Caleb Williams, the number 1 pick in the April draft. Still unsigned. According to the NFLPA, he has no representation, which means he is the sole individual who can negotiate with the Bears on his contract. Now, at a charity event that he was hosting over the weekend, he told the Chicago Tribune, "I'm not handling that. My lawyers and attorney and everybody, the head of the Bears, everybody up there up top is handling that. That's not my position that I'm handling. But again, according to the NFL Players Association, Williams does not have an NFLPA certified agent, which means by union rules, he has to directly negotiate with the Bears. Now, given the slotting process and that kind of thing, Williams's compensation is pretty well determined by where he was selected. And I guess really it's not a big deal other than for him to just go in and sign his autograph on a few sheets of paper and everything is good. But again, the looks of it are really odd to me. And I don't really get into the weeds of all of that, but both he and receiver Rome Odunze are unsigned. Odunze was the 9th pick in the draft. They are 2 of 5 rookies who are still unsigned. Also, Minnesota quarterback J.J. McCarthy, Minnesota edge rusher Dallas Turner, and Bengals offensive tackle Amarius Mims are unsigned as well, all first rounders. But again, it has as my projected starting quarterback. I don't know how Chicago hasn't prevailed on him, his camp, whatever, to get this done. And I don't know if it keeps him out of camp or how that works.
Yeah, I'm assuming that he doesn't report until we have a deal in place. And so this is interesting, right? Because it seems like pretty much a formality. Like you spelled it out great when you talked about the slotting situation. There's really only so much that you could kind of bargain at this point. And so it almost feels like that Caleb Williams is like, hey, I don't have an agent, but I do have obviously people that are looking out for me. And it's kind of up to them to get it done. And so you essentially pseudo have an agent, it seems like, I guess. And so I don't really know what potentially you are negotiating at this point, maybe other than a few bonuses or things of that nature. So it is interesting because it's pretty much a done deal, but it's still not a done deal.
But it's not done. Yeah. So again, I don't know how that works. I don't know what the significance what the practical significance is of Caleb Williams not being signed, but just to me, from an optic standpoint, it's not a great look. And aren't they supposed to play in the Hall of Fame game?
Yeah, August 3rd, them and the Texans, which is why they're reporting today. The rookies are, and then I think the rest of the team is tomorrow or the day after next, and so they're getting to work. And you got 2 of your key pieces that are not there, and they're banking on them. This is kind of classic Bears, though, right? They finally get 2 outstanding selections. Everybody's fired up, and then neither one of them want to show up for the start of training camp due to contract issues.
Yeah. This is less than 3 weeks away, August 3rd. I mean, we're sitting here on July 16th. So 2 weeks. You're talking, clearly less than 3 weeks, easily less than 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks to kickoff.
August 1st, I stand corrected. I apologize. So yeah.
The game is on a Thursday night?
Yep. Thursday night game versus the Texans. So they, you got, again, 2 of your big pieces that are kind of just not really sure what they're doing.
2 of your huge pieces. And I mean, folks are projecting the Bears to be, more of a factor in the NFC North because of those 2 guys, particularly feeling like they got the quarterback situation rectified, which I don't know how much better Caleb Williams is than Justin Fields, but that's another discussion for another day, I guess. But, at least Justin Fields was in uniform, right?
Well, yeah. An unsigned quarterback is not a quarterback at all, I guess is one way to look at that. And obviously, presumably this will get done. The other interesting thing, too, is you mentioned that a couple guys are still unsigned. Marvin Harrison Jr. finally did sign. He was the one that was really kind of famously, not had an agent, was going to represent himself. And was kind of really going back and forth with the Cardinals, but he finally did sign in late May because the other interesting thing is until you sign these deals, your jerseys can't go on sale.
Oof.
Or at least until you're part of the deal with the NFLPA is done. So that was the big holdup is everybody in Arizona was itching and begging to get their Marvin Harrison Jr. jerseys, and then they couldn't get them because the guy hadn't signed, but he finally did. So for whatever reason, this draft class is they're putting a little extra pressure or raising the blood pressure a little bit of the executives, if nothing else.
Hashtag revenue streams. So yeah, get signed and get those jerseys in the pro shop, Caleb. Come on now. Again, I don't know exactly what the significance is, if any, of Caleb Williams not being signed 2 weeks before their first game, but it's interesting to me. So certainly something that we will be keeping an eye on here over the next bit. Let's go ahead and take a break here on Main Street Sports today. When we come back, we've got an early grab bag. So we'll get into that when we return to the Lee Company studios after this.
Bluegrass Auction Associates is hosting another estate auction in White House, Tennessee on Saturday, July 20th at 10 a.m. Join Bluegrass as they sell the Judy Matthews Honeycutt Estate, conveniently located in the scenic Orchard Park subdivision. This beautiful estate includes both real estate and personal property, so everything must go. Everything will be sold on-site and in person, and a 10% buyer's premium is added to the final bid. So bid with confidence with Bluegrass Auction Associates, committed to excellence.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely. In our final segment, Wade and I will be giving you our top 5 Major League Baseball All-Star Game moments in reference to tonight's Midsummer Classic from Arlington. We'll be talking more about that in the next segment. Right now, it's the grab bag. Reaching in, pulling out a headline. Wade, we talked about Kawhi Leonard not going to Paris on a couple of occasions last week. I guess he will not be accompanying Team USA as a result of that knee injury that limited him late in the regular season and into the postseason for the Clippers. Well, there is an article that quotes Clippers president of basketball operations and former University of Tennessee men's basketball assistant coach under Kevin O'Neal, Lawrence Frank, saying that the team was, quote, very disappointed with USA Basketball's decision to replace Kawhi Leonard on the Olympic team roster. Which is interesting because everything we saw kind of pointed to this being a joint decision between USA Basketball and the Clippers. I mean, isn't that what you got out of everything that we saw when this was being discussed last week?
Sure seemed like it, didn't it?
It's kind of what I thought. Frank said Leonard did not suffer a setback with his surgically repaired right knee. It was USAB's call, and I was quite frankly very disappointed with the decision. Kawhi wanted to play. We wanted him to play. I was there the first two practices. He looked very good, was a full participant in everything that they did. I wasn't there for the third practice, where ultimately that was the point where they decided to go in a different direction. I expressed to them I really wish that they would have given Kawhi more time. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and Lawrence Frank said this, and he said it to reporters, and he's on the record as saying this, but I'm not buying this for a single second, right?
Okay.
You got to, you say the right things, but you're telling me with this guy's injury history, if you're the Clippers, you're upset that he was going to go play more basketball. He can barely, or has been able to barely, be on the court on a super regular basis for your team, and you're just magically now upset that he's going to go play more basketball at a pretty high level. I know he said this, but man, I got a hard time believing that this is what the organization really thinks deep down.
I'm not going to get into the specifics of kind of what's been happening. All I'll tell you is that he spent a great deal of time getting ready for this. He had a really solid progression. He looked good in the practices. He wouldn't be out there, and we wouldn't put him out there if we weren't confident that he'd be able to get through the entire Olympic experience. Now, I get it from USAB's perspective. No one has a crystal ball. And I think, again, Wade, we kind of touched on this. I think Team USA kind of erred on the side of caution with this because, worst case scenario, again, you get over there and it flares up and then you're a guy short. And you just don't know where he is with this. I'm not necessarily as skeptical as you are, just for the fact that I don't know what the Clippers have to gain from this stance.
Well, and I think this is why they're publicly saying this, because remember, you're obviously, you just lost Paul George too. You're trying to keep your team together now, but think about if you're a free agent, right? If one of your goals is to have success with the USA basketball team, and the Clippers are these staunch, we're really going to err on the side of caution, and we're going to yank you if we think you're an injury risk. If that was one of your goals, would you want to go play for that franchise? I know that I wouldn't. And so publicly, to me at least, it seems like this is a way for them to save face. I'm sure, it probably was a little bit all three parties, whether it's USA, Kawhi, or the Clippers were involved. But I got a hard time believing that the Clippers privately at least are really, upset by this because they now know that they get their guy who's going to have a chance to get healthier and not going to have that extra wear and tear. It's not the same as, those games that you would play in the playoffs. They talk about playoff mileage. It's not quite the same as that, but I mean, these games will be played at a pretty high level.
Right.
So as publicly as you can say it, I get you're trying to save face in that regard for the state of your franchise, but I just really got a hard time believing that they're going to be internally very upset that their superstar now has a greater or less chance of injury coming back.
That makes sense that you would try to spin it so that you aren't putting yourself at that risk with other potential free agents who have aspirations.
That's the way I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Joe Jellybean Bryant, a 8-year NBA veteran, and I think that needs to be said because he's also the father of Kobe Bryant, passed away earlier today at the age of 69. No official cause has been declared at this point. His alma mater, LaSalle University, announced his passing earlier today. Says in the Philadelphia Inquirer that he suffered a massive stroke. So, again, 69 years old. In addition to playing in the NBA, with the Warriors, with the 76ers, played overseas, coached with the LA Sparks for parts of 3 seasons and also overseas. And obviously, again, the father of arguably the greatest player in NBA history. There are some that would tell you that, but passed away earlier today. Hate to hear that.
Yeah, tragic news. Feels like we've been hit with a lot of tragic losses in the last couple of weeks. And I knew just a little bit, from what you would pick up in the media. But a couple months ago, I read a new book by Mike Selsky called The Rise. And it's a Kobe. I picked it up at the airport and I read it, basically the whole thing on the plane coming back from overseas. And I thought it was a Kobe book just about his professional career, but actually it turns out it's about his high school career and including his childhood. And there are several chapters dedicated to his father. And in those chapters, it was just kind of mind-blowing to me, just this kind of charismatic character and just unbelievable guy that Joe kind of was. And he was just kind of this almost in many ways in Philadelphia and kind of wherever he spent his time, he became like a larger than life character, no matter if it was in Pennsylvania or whether it was in Italy. And so very, very fascinating to read that and kind of get some more insight into Kobe's father's background, because he, in many ways, obviously Kobe completely modeled his life after the career of his father. And man, that is a tragic loss. And I'm glad that you had included that today, because I had not even seen that news, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Played parts of 8 seasons with the Sixers, Clippers, and Rockets. Averaged just under 9 points and 4 boards. But I will tell you, because I was paying a little bit more attention to the NBA in that period of time, I guess. And like you said, his impact seemed to go beyond stats. I mean, he just seemed to be that kind of infectious guy that everybody liked and respected and that kind of thing. And that was one of the first things that I remembered when I was hearing about the emergence of Kobe was, I mean, the nickname Jelly Bean kind of gets you for one thing, but he just seemed like a universally liked guy. Again, numbers weren't particularly impactful. He was on that 77 Philadelphia team that lost in the NBA Finals to Bill Walton and Maurice Lucas and the Portland Trail Blazers. But yeah, just and it's tough because again, he is Kobe Bryant's dad, but he was a solid basketball player in his own right, and I just want to try to give him the gravitas as a player that he deserves in this, as we discuss his passing, because again, he was Kobe's dad, but he was more than that. And our condolences go to his family and the folks that knew him. So we talked on this show back in January when former LSU receiver, New England Patriots receiver, Kayshon Boutte was arrested on charges of illegal sports betting while at LSU. The underage gambling and computer fraud charges against Kayshon Boutte have been dropped. Apparently, it had been alleged that he bet on sports from April 6th of 2022 to May 7th of 2023 and used an alias to skirt the age requirement for betting in Louisiana. Supposedly placed more than 8,900 bets, at least 17 on NCAA football games, including at least 6 involving LSU. Continued for approximately a week after he was drafted. I don't know how or why these charges cease to be pursued, but good for Boutte.
Yeah, lawyered up, I guess, because I don't understand. Yeah, if the charge is
for everything that they've got, if it was significant enough to bring the charges, what would make you drop them?
Yeah, that's kind of the head scratcher, and I need to hit up his defense attorney. I'm always looking for good legal representation,
because you never know.
Man, I mean, one of the charges is that you were betting underage, and I guess the only way is they say that he allegedly used an alias, whether that was a family member or a friend or some other individual. But if one of the charges is underage betting,
that doesn't change.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
if don't change,
you've established that he was underage. And how do you get around that? No, I wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's like underage drinking, right? It's like, hey, we're bringing you on charges of underage drinking, and then those charges somehow get dropped. It's like, well, what changed? Like, yeah, so interesting. And obviously, I guess this is good news, potentially for not only him but also for the Patriots, as now you can kind of put that completely behind. And I guess the other interesting thing is to see what happens if the NFL has any sort of extra or any sort of other thing that they want to get involved with. But yeah, this is kind of a head scratcher, and yeah, man, it pays the lawyer up sometimes, I guess.
They make the big bucks for a reason, I guess. We talked, Wade, about the U.S. men's national soccer team and Greg Berhalter's recent dismissal and who could be in the mix as a potential replacement. You mentioned, I've forgotten, who did you mention? Who was the big name that you mentioned?
Jurgen Klopp.
Yes.
Who has rebuffed, quote unquote, the U.S. So,
well, apparently he is not the only one who has rebuffed the U.S. I don't know that categorizing Jesse Marsch as having rebuffed the USMNT, I don't know if that would be accurate or not, but the Canada manager apparently made some comments here recently that, well, I'm not leaving this job. I have no interest in the U.S. job. And to be fair, unless there's a big shift in the organization, I don't think that I'll ever have any interest in that job in the future. I mean, unless he pulls a Jim Schlossnagle, I think it's safe to say that Jesse Marsh won't be the coach of the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah,
And,
it doesn't seem like it, right?
And it's interesting because, I mean, this guy's from Wisconsin. I mean, obviously he's got U.S. ties. He's played in MLS. He's had some success as a player and as a coach, but you know, obviously growing up in the U.S. and contributing and playing for the national team, playing for the youth national teams, coaching at the World Cup with the U.S. national team, my respect for U.S. soccer is big. He recently said on a CBS Sports podcast. But I went through a process with them, right? And I'm not going to go into it, but I wasn't treated very well in the process. And so whatever, man. That's in the past now, and I'm fully focused. The minute it was done, I was like, okay, I'm moving forward, and I'm going to figure out what's right for me. And again, it motivated me again to find the right people. So that was before he took on the Canada manager position, and he seems to be quite happy therein.
Yeah, this is to me, it's twofold. I think there's still kind of some sour grapes because he was a guy that was a potential candidate to replace Berhalter during the interim where Berhalter was not the head coach after he was the head coach before he got rehired. And so I think a little bit of sour grapes there. And he's also kind of right, though. This is the other tricky thing with this hiring process is the United States Soccer Federation does not really have a great reputation globally. They've done some deals that some candidates, it feels like, that should have gotten jobs were not hired for various reasons, and kind of almost at times has given that, good old boys club type vibe. And so it seems like Marsh has kind of been turned off. On the other side of the equation, though, he's got Canada playing some of its best soccer in the history of the country. And so after just getting hired there, I kind of see his point. It's almost like, well, why would I leave here to go to a borderline dumpster fire, if not dumpster fire, for the U.S.? Why would I leave right when Canada is, kind of on the come up here?
Right. If it's not a dumpster fire, it's certainly smoldering. Marsh has led Canada to the Copa America semifinals, and I think it's the second time he's gotten them to that point. Is that right?
Just the first. So he just got hired just earlier this year.
Okay.
And so, but they did make it to the semis. That is correct. And I mean, they've got a great run, and they have kind of some promising talent that's on the way up. So they've got some pieces. So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like a two-part equation. He's got a great thing in Canada, and the fact that the U.S. as a whole is kind of a bit of a dumpster fire. I see his point. He's almost just like, why would I leave here? I've got a great thing going.
Well, he did not hesitate to say it in any uncertain terms. So, good for him. Tiger getting ready for the British Open this week, and that's a story in and of itself, I guess. But apparently while he was getting ready, he acknowledged that he turned down the opportunity to serve as captain of next year's U.S. Ryder Cup team. Said in light of other commitments, he needed to turn that down. So Keegan Bradley is your Ryder Cup captain for next year when they play at Bethpage Black in September. But Tiger was, I guess, in line for that, and has opted to focus on the other things that he has going on right now. So just didn't feel like I could do the job properly, couldn't devote the time. So
yeah, and this when this story came out last week, everybody is immediately scratching their heads, right? You have a chance to get Tiger involved, and this seems like the perfect fit for him with where he's at competitively. Kind of get to be the sage, guru that can coach these guys. and kind of lead and captain the team. And then you pick Keegan Bradley. So that immediately was kind of a head scratcher. So kind of maybe not surprising that if this is actually how it played out, that Tiger was the one that maybe turned them down, because this is a guy that's still got a whole lot going on off the golf course. He's basically managing a global brand on the day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. And so you do wonder, how much time did he really want to commit? It would have been awesome. The nostalgia factor would be off the charts if we saw him as your captain there and kind of coaching the guys up, but it just wasn't meant to be, it sounds like.
Yeah, it sounds like, and I think, to your point, just anytime you have an opportunity to see Tiger, it's a good thing. And for him to be involved with something like the Ryder Cup, like you said, coaching those guys up, you don't think that gives those guys a little extra edge when Tiger is out front there like that? But, if you're too busy, you're too busy, I guess. So, and I guess there's talk of him potentially serving as Bradley's vice captain, which I guess would be less involved. But, and according to this article on ESPN.com, he hasn't ruled out becoming a Ryder Cup captain in the future. So,
yeah, and that's kind of what I take away is it does seem like right now maybe just too much going on. And I'm reading an article. He's the vice chairman of the board of directors of the PGA Tour. He's a member of their transaction committee, whatever the heck that is, and he's also a player director. So he's got a lot of procedural hats, if you will, if nothing else, in addition to his own personal commitments. So, I want to take Tiger at his word here. And if he's unable to fulfill it now, the fact that he says he's willing to do it later is really good enough for me. And if nothing else, that's what I'll go to bed at night clinging to, that one day, we could see him kind of coaching the boys up a little bit.
Absolutely. In addition to the aforementioned involvements that Tiger has, he and Rory McIlroy are also the front men for TGL, presented by SoFi, a tech-infused golf league that is scheduled to begin its inaugural season in early January. And that's interesting because after Rory's latest come apart at the U.S. Open, among the people that reached out to him to try to send him well wishes was one Eldrick Tiger Woods. Now, I said tried because, full disclosure, I changed my number 2 days after the U.S. Open, so I didn't get it until he told me about it today, McIlroy said. So basically, Rory McIlroy ghosted his partner after the U.S. Open.
Man, Rory, he went full scrub after the U.S. Open. Yeah, and I haven't heard much about them in that endeavor in a while, but I want to say they had some sort of setback not too long ago. But the way it's presented, or the way I'm envisioning, it's kind of like a Top Golf league, a semi-Top Golf competitor, which is obviously a kind of burgeoning industry in kind of the social golf space. So the fact that these two guys have linked up and they're kind of in another kind of entrepreneurial type role, it kind of just speaks to what we were just talking about with Tiger and the things that he's got going on off the course. He's still playing a few tournaments here and there, but this is a guy that's got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah. And reaching out to folks that ain't reaching back. But anyway, hey, let's take a break from the Lee Company Studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return, we'll talk a little baseball, get you ready for tonight's All-Star game. Stay tuned.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Two-out home run in Atlanta's 10-5 win at San Diego extended his streak of consecutive games with an extra base hit to 14. That string equaled the mark set in 1927 by Pittsburgh outfielder Paul Wainer. Jones's homer was part of a 6-run rally that broke the game open. Chipper managed just 3 singles in the Braves' 15-3 win at St. Louis the following day, leaving him and Wainer tied, a tie that still stands. 14 straight games with an extra base hit remains the major league record. So that was this day in Braves history. Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today. I'm Maurice Patton. That is Wade Neely. And, you know, as I had mapped out today's run of show, this subject wasn't on it. But scrolling through Twitter, as I am wont to do, came across an article on WFAA.com, which is a television station in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Home Run Derby national anthem singer, I Was Drunk. No David Allan Coe references, please. But Singer-songwriter Ingrid Andress, whose uneven viral national anthem performance at the Major League Baseball Home Run Derby on Monday night, said in an Instagram post Tuesday that she was drunk while singing the Star Spangled Banner and will be checking herself into rehab. At this point, it might be best to just give you a little snippet of Ingrid Andress's uneven viral national anthem performance.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I'm not gonna bull y'all. I was drunk last night. I'm checking myself into a facility today to get the help I need. That was not me last night. I apologize to MLB, all the fans, and this country I love so much for that rendition. Wait, does that make it better or worse?
I don't know if it makes it better or worse. She is firmly atop the power rankings now. Fergie from the 2018 NBA All-Star Game was the front runner for the worst national anthem ever, but she has officially been dethroned because this one was bad. And
I'm gonna refer you before you make that declaration. And this one was bad, and Fergie's was bad, but Carl Lewis and Roseanne Barr.
The two of the worst. They were supplanted by Fergie, but those were the torchbearers for a long, long time. And you're right. I don't know if it makes it worse. Obviously, substance abuse is a rough situation, and so you hope that everything is okay there. It doesn't make it. I mean, the internet lives forever. So rehab or not, this will live on in infamy. And I mean, I don't even know if we saw it on the clip, but I mean, Alec Boehm is in the outfield just kind of snickering and laughing. I mean, everybody during this thing, and my phone, not even on social, but I got like 4 texts immediately and said, that's the worst anthem I've ever heard. And I forgot what they were talking about. I was still at the gym and I was like, what's going on? Where's an anthem going down that I needed to know about? And then you pull out social media and poor Ingrid is the talk of talk shows everywhere today because that was pretty rough,
and not in a good way,
No.
And again, you make a great point. You don't want to make light of this situation if she has a substance abuse issue, but the fact that she couldn't keep it together long enough to perform when it wasn't like they sprung this on her at 5 o'clock and she was already drunk. I'm sure that she'd known about this for days, if not weeks. And I don't know. 4-time Grammy nominee Ingrid Andress, certainly getting attention for all the wrong reasons last night.
That's classic MLB too, right? They're going viral. But it ain't for the home run derby itself. It's for the anthem from last night.
Hustling backwards is what they call that. Yes.
They can't help themselves in that regard.
It's tough. When you are putting together a major event like this, should you have to ask the national anthem singer, do you have your full faculties today, or do we have reason to be concerned with you? That's not something you should have to ask somebody, is it?
You wouldn't think so. And man, that is that's not a good look. And for all the wrong reasons today, we're talking about Ingrid. And like you said, a 4-time Grammy nominee, and man, that was painful.
That was not good. In the home run derby, Teoscar Hernandez became the first member of the Dodgers to win the event. And did so in relatively dramatic fashion, advancing into the semifinals by a home run over the hometown hero Adalis Garcia. 19 homers in the first to get to the semis, along with Alec Bohm and Jose Ramirez is 21 each, and Bobby Witt's 20. So he gets into the semis by a home run. He beats Bohm in a swing off by a home run. And then he beats Witt in the finals by a home run. So
razor thin margins.
He likes
Hernandez.
the drama. Yep,
yeah,
absolutely.
building up the drama, and it was interesting, right? Because this new format, we talked about how much drama it would potentially produce, and man, the weeding out process, if you will, to get to the top four did feel like it drug on a while.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily, if you stayed with it throughout the night, we certainly got the drama we were looking for at the end, because I mean, you're talking as close as you can get. And then Witt right there, I mean, he's got the swing off. We're down. His last one almost ties.
Yeah.
But is just short. I mean, it was a crazy drama-filled event, which almost made us forget about the national anthem earlier at that point.
Almost. Garcia finished with 18 in the first round. He was eliminated. Also, Marcelo Ozuna with 16. Pete Alonso only had 12, the 7th best total in the opening round. And the major league leader in home runs, Gunnar Henderson, had 11. Interesting outcomes there in that opening round. Again, Witt defeated Ramirez 17-12. Hernandez defeated Bohm 16-15 in the semifinals. And then Teoscar Hernandez 14-13 over Bobby Witt Jr., with Witt's final swing bouncing off the fence in left center. So it was entertaining. Again, as you said, the new format was a little jarring, a little tough to keep up with, I thought, but a good time was had by all. So congrats to Mr. Hernandez, and I'm just hoping again that this doesn't negatively impact Marcell Ozuna once he comes back and the Braves resume their play at home against St. Louis this weekend.
The other interesting thing too coming out of this was when they were interviewing Griffey last night, and I forget exactly who was at the plate. It might have been when Gunnar Henderson was up there, and I was sitting there watching it. I'm thinking, man, Henderson when he was hitting them out, they were bombs, but obviously when he wasn't, they weren't. Same with Alonso, who definitely needs to hire a new pitching coach or a new tosser at this point. But man, I kept thinking to myself, man, it looks like Griffey could go out here and slug about 20 himself right now, man. The kid is still looking great.
Maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need an old timers home run derby, if not an old timers game. Just let them get up there and grip it and rip it. The game is tonight, starts at 7 on Fox. And obviously the biggest thing is you want to tune in for the bottom of the first when Paul Skeens takes the mound against some of the American League's biggest boppers. It looks like Stephen Kwan is going to lead off before you get Henderson, Soto, I'm sorry, and Aaron Judge. So they're going to hit 2, 3, and 4.
And this was interesting, Mo, because I did see some Braves social chatter last night. There was some interesting comments floating around the webs. It said old Manfred was getting ready to do his meddling, just like he's been known to do. That if Sale were potentially tabbed, that Manfred was going to step in and put the kibosh on it. So my man can't help himself. It sounds like meddling Manfred was getting ready to make a cameo yet again.
Oh, goodness. I missed that, and I think it's just as well that I did. Yeah. Dude needs to just stay away from baseball.
He's got to fix the anthem singers first.
he needs to stay away from baseball decisions. And for a guy who is the commissioner, that's kind of tough. But we are to the top of the hour, and want to get in real quickly. We kind of panned Milwaukee for this trade, and the panning can continue because Corbin Burns is going to start for the American League tonight for Baltimore. It's his fourth All-Star game that he's been named to. The previous three with Milwaukee. He'll be making his first start, so congrats to him. Ran out of time to get into the draft, but it is continuing. Congratulations to Good Pastures Brendan Jones, who played his college ball out at Kansas State and went in the 12th round just a bit ago to the New York Yankees. We will update the draft with all of our local involvement on tomorrow's show. But we need to take a break here from the Lee Company studios because waiting in the wings is the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, to talk a little MTSU when we come back for the second hour of Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We'll be right back.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
And that's Wade Neely. We are Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. This is hour number 2 of Top 5 Tuesday. In our final segment, Wade and I will give you our top 5 Major League Baseball All-Star Game moments. So stay tuned for that. Right now, though, we are going, well, in my case, We're going across Highway 96 because I don't like going down 65 to 840. We're going across Highway 96 to Murfreesboro, where we find Choose Chip in the Murphy Center.
You're right. I am over here today, and I'm about to go down and watch men's basketball's having their first workout since they took a couple of weeks off, and I had to be over here for something at 2:30, and said, and basketball is starting right now, so I thought I would go ahead and do our bit from here, and then step down to the auxiliary gym and watch men's basketball, because the main floor here has volleyball standards up because volleyball camp is going on this week. So,
Okay.
so
Well,
a lot
when
of
you-
youngsters here on campus for that. Yeah.
When you get down there with the men, one, be sure and tell Nick we said hey, but two, check and see if Issam Mustafa has shown up.
Well, I will be checking on that. It's my understanding that it may be tomorrow. His flight got delayed out of wherever he was flying out of, but he's scheduled to be here very soon. So
All right.
that's what I'm being told. I want to
that'll-
see him in the. I want to see him in the
Horses
flesh
close to the
too.
situation, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we that will answer one question for sure. Again, Chip is one of our favorite guests because he sends along a cheat sheet, and we would like to wish a happy 9th birthday to the Adams Tennis Complex.
That's right. I mean, and you all have been out there covering spring fling and other things, and you know just how terrific that facility is, with 8 indoor courts as well as, and by the way, they're refurbing all of the outdoor courts out there at Old Fort as well, and they're going to convert, I think, 2 of the tennis courts over to 4 pickleball courts. So either that or adding to what's already there. But that facility, with Jimmy Borendame coming on, and Teo Bailey Duval with the women's team, it has, that facility really helped him, along with having competitive teams, being able to get a lot of Power Fives to come in here. And during the fall, they have these Friday afternoon matches at 5 o'clock that are basically happy hour matches, and people and they have refreshments out there.
Refreshment.
And they do have refreshments, and the crowd is raucous at these things. I mean, as many people as, because you go in and then you go upstairs. There are 4 courts on either side of the viewing area. And and up there they've got concessions and refreshments and other things, and you can watch whichever court you want to watch. And I mean, it's like a football crowd. I mean, as loud as they get, and all of that. So it's a lot of fun to go out and watch them. And that building has done so much as far as leaving a great impression on the tennis community, and it's helped expand the local tennis community as well, outside of the university. But now you take the Adams Tennis Complex and the Adams family that are behind NHC were the seed money for that building, and they've been great benefactors to a lot of things in our community. But between the Adams Complex and the new outdoor tennis complex here on campus, Middle does not take a back seat to anybody in college tennis when you have those kind of facilities. And the new facility just opened up in February, so it's been really exciting to see the progress and that the program has made, and that Coach Borendame's laser focus has been to get them to where they are year in, year out, a top 50 program in the country.
So Chip, does it now become the Adams Tennis and Pickleball Complex?
that I could not tell you. I don't think they will change that. Maybe it could be the Adams Net Sports complex or something like that. Who knows? But I don't think the name will actually change. But because the Adams name is on the indoor facility actually, and so those are going to remain tennis courts inside of there.
Okay. While we are in our tennis vein, Wade and I spoke about Barbora Krejcikova, the number 31 seed at Wimbledon, who went all the way through the draw, not the bracket, to win in Saturday's women's singles finals. Well, it appears that there is a Murfreesboro connection.
Yeah, isn't there always? Her coach is a young man named Pavel Model, who was an international player here at MTSU, graduated, 3 or 4 years ago. And he obviously runs in tennis circles and made that connection, took her under his wing, and obviously, did a great job of keeping her focused on what she was doing, preparing for each match and each opponent coming up through the draw at Wimbledon, and now wins the championship, wins the ladies championship. And I would say for Pavel that I would say his stock as a tennis coach on the world scene has gone through the roof this week. That would be my guess.
Yeah, he's going to be a hot commodity in the coaching circles, I would imagine. You throw a Wimbledon victory, a Grand Slam win, and I find that fascinating, right? You have a great career at MTSU, and you kind of get into professional tennis yourself, and then poof, we're talking about a guy that's 26 years old and already has a Grand Slam coaching acumen to his credit.
Yeah, I mean, and he's I'm sure he's playing to some level, and professionally, and several other former Blue Raiders are playing around the world. I saw the MTSU men's tennis Twitter account. They really do a good job of keeping up with their former players and how they're doing around the world. And all those other players are kind of having to take a back seat to what Pavel has done with his star pupil this week. And that's just a really great story right there, and just tickled for him because he's a super good guy, and couldn't happen to a nicer fellow.
Absolutely. Chip, Mo and I were talking earlier today, and I wanted to ask you this question a couple weeks ago, but it worked out beautifully today. The EA Sports college football game is kind of the talking point of the world right now, it seems. And a couple of weeks ago, I read this story on your website. And what can you tell us about what happened with the jerseys at Alabama last year? And the EA Sports team was so in tune with the jerseys not being accurate or being different than usual, and kind of maybe just walk us and give us that whole story if you could.
Basically what happened, from what Larry Maples told me, was that obviously going to Alabama, you're going to wear the road whites or the light color jersey being on the road, unless you're at LSU, which you would wear the dark because they wear whites at home. But they had ordered a new set of whites that were more had some, whether it was screening or embroidery or whatever, or striping or whatever the design was that Larry had come up with for those jerseys. Well, Nike has had some delivery issues, and the white jerseys were not going to make it in time for the Alabama game. So they basically got a set of blanks from, I guess they got them from Nike, blank whites that they took then locally to a local screen printing place, to where they put the all that they had basically were the numbers and an MT logo right here in the yoke, and they had the nameplates on the back. And but EA Sports picked up on that by comparing video of a game at Alabama as opposed to a game at Louisiana Tech or wherever Sam Houston or wherever, and noticed that the white jerseys were different. So the detail, and you think about this, every one of the 133 schools that is involved in EA Sports College Football 25 had to submit, or were asked to submit, hundreds of photographs, probably hours of custom video of, of of very specific things within the stadium, within the locker room, but mainly the stadium, from different angles, because they wanted to be able to get it all right. Now, one of the really interesting things about this year's version of that game is that throughout the year, the Athletic Communications Office will be sending updated photographs to EA Sports throughout the year that will show differences in the construction phases of the new Student Athlete Performance Center. So as your game downloads the most up to date version throughout the football season, you'll get an updated look at Floyd Stadium from game to game. And so that's kind of neat. Also, there's a story on Sidelines I just saw earlier today about this, and it was an interview with Nick Vattiato, and he talked about having the last version that came out in 2013 that had Robert Griffin III on the cover, and so he would have been about 10 years old at the time, and he talked about he goes, one of his dreams was one day to be part of that game, and then all of a sudden it went away, and then you had kind of the generic version where you just had no names, you just had numbers. Well, now every player who opted in, I mean, we're talking every player from every school who opted in to be part of the EA Sports game, they're getting $600 in cash and a free copy of the game for themselves. And I think they were the first to receive their copies of the game, and we're starting to get chatter about people who've gotten those early copies and the talk about it. For me, I'm still on Pong, and
Big Frogger guy, right?
Yeah, and asteroids and things like that. That's more my speed, and the vibrating metal football game that I had that you put out on the floor. But so I don't understand everything about this by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a huge deal, and unless you are a Southeastern Conference fan, I can tell you that the EA Sports game, it just means more today to everybody else around college football. Did I get a shot in?
Chip Walters, the Blue
good.
Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Chip, did you not have the Mattel handheld?
I did. I did. It had the kind of electronic whistle. I did have the handheld. I did have that. You're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, there you go.
And I may have actually had an Atari version of a football game that I'm not sure what the lack of realism was dramatic.
I loved the quote, Chip, when they asked Larry Maples about the jerseys being different from that Alabama game, and he said, "There ain't no way that these guys knew that." So I mean, that just was mind blowing to me, the level of detail that these guys put into crafting this thing.
Yeah, and and we have people like Larry Maples, Nathan Wallach, Matt Posey, and they have some student workers that work under all of them. They have kind of been the liaisons with EA Sports throughout this whole process, and providing all of the information. I've seen just a few clips that have made social media, and it is amazing how realistic it looks. And and to hear Chris Fowler, talking about Middle coming out of the tunnel at Floyd Stadium and all of this, and he put out videos throughout the year where he was having to do all of these customized. He and they were about with all of the 133 teams. So that's not AI that they have regenerated his voice. He had to record all of it in a home studio at his house.
I would imagine you can hear a little bit more about this in Sam Doughton's podcast with Larry Maples, Behind the Blue Raiders, which is currently up on the website. It's episode 3.
Yeah, it dropped today. The 3 episodes. Chuck with Learfield are now with Van Wagner Sports. Then Nathan Wallach, and Nathan was talking a lot about the new video board at football and the new control room. And now Larry Maples talking about all kinds of things, including that. But you can get the podcast. Go to the multimedia tab on GoBlueRaiders.com. Click on podcast. It'll be there. And also, if you get your podcast on Spotify, you can search under MTSU Blue Raiders, and you'll get the podcast on Spotify.
There you go. Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Chip, when next we visit you, will you be in Frisco?
I will not be there. But the thing is now it's gotten to where so much of it can be done by Zoom and all of that it has cut down on the numbers of folks that go. But we'll have a contingent, 3 players. Coach Derek Mason, obviously Mark Owens will be there representing athletic communications. Plus you'll have probably at least one member of the social media team that will be there to document it all on all the socials. So there'll be plenty of content coming out from down there.
Former Brentwood Academy linebacker Devin Curtis is slated to represent MTSU, and I don't remember who else is going out for Conference USA Football Media Day, which will be next Tuesday out in Frisco.
Nick Vattiato is one. So Nick Vattiato, Devin Curtis, and I'm trying to think who the third one is. It may be the defensive back transfer from Wake Forest. I would have to look and see. But
I'm trying to find it, and it gave me last year's, which doesn't good.
I think the football Twitter account had a graphic up of who all was going, but they'll be out there this year. I think we may have mentioned this in a detail. The last couple of years they've had this at Globe Life Park, which is a little busy this week, this year they're moving it over to the PGA headquarters, which is there in the Frisco, Plano area in the Metroplex. So Conference USA's office is there in Dallas, very close to the Big 12 office. So a lot of times the Big 12 and Conference USA will share facilities for events like this. Big 12 will go one, few days, and then Conference USA or vice versa. So in the past they've shared some facilities for events like this.
We were talking about basketball a little bit ago. You're getting ready to go check out some men's basketball practice. We got schedules.
Conference schedule got released yesterday, and as Conference USA always is, it is a mirrored schedule to where if the women are at home against a certain opponent, that same day or night, the men are on the road at that same opponent. And we can tell you that really for the whole schedule is on GoBlueRaiders.com, but the women will open up conference play on January 2nd and 4th against FIU and then Liberty. And the men on that same trip will be at FIU and Liberty on the 2nd and 4th. So at the end of the season, the men will finish at home against Liberty and FIU, and the women will close out the regular season at Liberty and FIU. That'll be March 6th and 8th before going back to Huntsville for the tournament. The other real key dates in there, January 18th, the women are at home against Western Kentucky. The men are on the road in Bowling Green. And then on February 15th, flip those around. And I hope I got them in the correct order, but
you
it's
don't.
January. I had them the other way around. January 18th and the 5th.
January 18th, the women are at Bowling Green.
Okay, and the men are at home. And then on February 15th, the women are at home and the guys are at Bowling Green.
And times have not been set, but hopefully good sense will prevail.
Well, last year it did. You know, we're both dates were the games were scheduled out enough to where there was about a 3-hour window between the end of one game and the beginning of another. And so folks could go to Bowling Green, see one, come home and see the other, or vice versa, however that worked out. But we hope that both schools make an effort on that. You know, in the men's teams, one of the other steps that they go is that when Middle and Western play in men's basketball, Middle wears blue uniforms no matter where we're playing, and Western wears red uniforms. And nobody wears white. They wear their school colors, which I really like, and both coaches really like doing that.
I like that, and here in 2024, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody's watching on black and whites anymore, so I don't know that it makes that big a deal. So, yeah, I think that's awesome. I'd like to see more folks do that. So. Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. Chip, we appreciate it, and we will check in with you next Tuesday.
Well, certainly.
And hey,
I'm not there. Yes, huh?
We're just glad that you did not have to do a monologue today.
Well, that was a big plus that I didn't have to do that. But I did want to make mention here before we close out. My lighting is terrific here in the Murphy Center today. Have you noticed that?
You look good. You look particularly good. Yes.
You're glistening over there.
Yeah. There was something else. Tomorrow on your round table.
Tomorrow morning.
I wanted to mention this because there's a phone number I need to get from you. Go ahead.
Gotcha. Yes, tomorrow morning, 9 to 10 on my roundtable show here in Murfreesboro. I'll preface it by saying in 10 days from now here in Murfreesboro, we'll have the induction ceremony for the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame. Of course, this weekend is the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame will be inducting its class on June 27th, and one of the inductees will be just one of the really great guys in sports broadcasting in the state, Mr. Bob Kessling, the voice of the Vols, and he will be my guest tomorrow. We'll be talking about his career in Knoxville, his career as a sportscaster, and you know, he did not have it the easiest, having to follow a legend, and how he got into a broadcasting position after being a lineman out of Pennsylvania, who came to play college football in Knoxville, and you know, he is just a prince of a fellow, and also one of the things I'll kind of let you guys know, Bob is a world-class practical joker, and we're going to go into some of the practical jokes that he has pulled over the years in his career, and some of them are certainly good stories worth telling.
Look forward to that. The round
that'll be 9 to 10 a.m. and easiest way to catch it is on the listen live button on WGNSradio.com, and you can also catch the video on Big G TV on YouTube.
Big G TV. Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us. We appreciate you. We'll talk next week.
We will.
When we continue on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we'll talk a little college football. Stay tuned when we return to the Lee Company studios after this break.
Bluegrass Auction Associates is hosting another estate auction in White House, Tennessee on Saturday, July 20th at 10 a.m. Join Bluegrass as they sell the Judy Matthews Honeycutt Estate, conveniently located in the scenic Orchard Park subdivision. This beautiful estate includes both real estate and personal property, so everything must go. Everything will be sold on-site and in person, and a 10% buyer's premium is added to the final bid. So bid with confidence with Bluegrass Auction Associates, committed to excellence.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton along with Wade Neely. In our final segment, Wade and I will give you our top 5 MLB All-Star Game moments. Right now, though, we're going to talk a little college football before we get to college football, we want to talk about a former college football player, one whose name we invoked earlier in the show. Caleb Williams must have heard us talking about him, and he was like, y'all chill. Because he and the Chicago Bears have apparently signed a 4-year rookie contract worth $39 million, including $25.5 million for a signing bonus and a 5th-year option. So reports Adam Schefter of ESPN. So,
He got it done.
Main Street Sports Today. We get things done.
Yep.
Anything else y'all want us to tend to? Because we'll get to
we mentioned it. We mentioned it, and look what happened. And a Bears fan of mine pointed out, this could have been for the cameras, right? Hard Knocks, they start recording once training camp gets going. Well, guess what happened today? Caleb signs his deal. So maybe he was just waiting for the Hard Knocks cameras to get there, I guess.
There we go. He and Roma Dunzier have both signed, so their entire rookie class is signed. Oh. Continuing to scroll through yahoosports.com. Wade, you may not remember this one, but former South Pittsburgh High School football coach Chris Jones jilted the Pirates to take a head coaching job in the Canadian Football League. I guess it was a couple of years ago, maybe last year. But Chris Jones has been fired by the Edmonton Elks as head coach and general manager after a winless start in 5 games. So
hard out here in these Canadian streets.
Karma can get you even in Canada, apparently.
Yep. Especially up in Edmonton, they say.
There we go. Now, as I was saying before I so rudely interrupted myself, Southeastern Conference football media days are in their second day out in Dallas. Expected to speak were Georgia coach Kirby Smart, Missouri's Eli Drinkwitz, Oklahoma's Brent Venables, and Tennessee's Josh Heupel. And I'm not sure exactly where they are on that schedule, but I know Heupel has spoken, and I know that Kirby has spoken. Wade, last week we had Ben McKee of 24/7 Sports on with us, and we delved a little bit into football, and he made the comment that things were quiet, and quiet is good. Right after that, Georgia had a couple of guys arrested for driving offenses. Offensive lineman Bo Hewley and linebacker Smail Mondon. Hewley on a reckless driving charge, Mondon on misdemeanor charges of racing and reckless driving. Freshman cornerback DeMello Jones was charged with racing for driving against Mondon, but wasn't arrested because he voluntarily pulled over and cooperated with law enforcement. These are the 7th driving-related arrests for the University of Georgia football program since January of 2023. So, during his comments in Dallas earlier today, Kirby said that the Bulldogs NIL Collective has been substantially fining players for driving violations for more than a year. Wade, I don't know if you remember Sports Illustrated, where they would have a section in the magazine at the front of the magazine, pretty prominent. This week's Sign of the Apocalypse.
Yep.
We are fining college football players here in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, so we've reached the point, right, where that's the one way that it feels like the message will really get across more than anything else. The coaches could only do so much, which I immediately thought about the great all-time Steve Spurrier quote. You know, he said he liked playing Georgia the second game of the season because you can count on 3 or 4 of them
before they got everybody back from suspension.
Everybody back after you get them, so he liked playing them early. That's what I thought of immediately. But yeah, it's fascinating, right? Because the coach can only do so much, and when you're talking about a player of the caliber that's at Georgia, they got bigger. You know, they're just a stepping stone to the NFL more often than not. So hey, if I'm not playing, you know, it ain't necessarily the end of the world. But now when you start taking money out of their pocketbooks, that's when things really maybe start taking hold. So I find this fascinating, but also feels like, yeah, you're right. That's kind of where we are in the world right now.
Our Classic City Collective for over a year has been substantially fining guys for those things. That's not something that's new. That's something that has been going on that's outside of my jurisdiction, and they decided to do and implement and have done to a considerable amount. If you're not watching, you can't see my eye roll, but, you know, it's interesting.
I mean, this is, you know, like you said, 7th or 8th. I mean, this is kind of, and there's been some tragic situations down there. So this is kind of becoming a bit of an issue at Georgia. And yeah, it feels like this is the only way to really maybe take hold is to financially kind of get these guys, because like I said, playing time is only going to impact them so much, because some of these guys get drafted without even setting foot on the field if they needed to.
Yeah. According to this CBS Sports article, it's not without controversy. NIL Collective lawyer Mitt Winter, friend of the show, cautioned that while withholding payments to athletes is legal, it also treads murky waters regarding players' potential employment status. Doing things like this could cross the line into the athletes being considered employees of the collective, since the collective is controlling their behavior. And if the directive to find the athletes is coming from coaches or the school, that could also create a number of legal issues. So
2024.
2024, that's where we're at. It's a different world. We talked about the implosion of the Pac-12 on various occasions here over the past year, 18 months. And, I guess the last time we talked about it, it was about the scheduling agreement between the remaining two members of the Pac-12, the Pac-2, as it were, Oregon State and Washington State, and the Mountain West. It seems as if that relationship may be a little more tenuous than it seemed. I guess the prevailing thought was that some kind of way Oregon State and Washington State and the Mountain West contingent would be in the same conference by 2026 when the college football playoffs new contract starts up. It seems now that perhaps members of the Mountain West don't feel as urgent about that as they did. There's a scheduling agreement in place for this upcoming season. It's a mutual option to continue that scheduling agreement in 25. But again, Mountain West members aren't necessarily sold on needing or wanting, Washington State and Oregon State going forward. So,
yeah, it just seems like kind of like we discussed on Friday's show. Everybody's posturing, right? Even the Mountain West has got to posture a little bit because you don't want to just yield all of your bargaining power. I mean, presumably it'd be nice to have these two brands in your league. It's already a solid league, but it'd be nice to have two kind of quote unquote really household names in there. But at the same time, you don't just want to turn everything over to these guys, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got, some of the folks that the Mountain West does have in their lineup, San Diego State, Boise State, Air Force, Fresno, that are playing at as high a level as they've played at here of late. UNLV winning 9 games this past year. I mean, they've got some programs having some success and gaining some notoriety. And, I think they're just questioning how much of an impact or how much more of an impact Washington State and Oregon State can make for them, which I'm sure isn't something that officials at those two schools want to hear right now.
No, you wouldn't think so. And I didn't know this, but apparently earlier this year it was announced Washington State is kind of already a pseudo member. They're going to be competing in baseball and swimming, it looks like, already in the Mountain West. So now I'm really kind of scratching my heads, kind of wondering, like, what's the holdup here? And why, kind of why we haven't. It seems like a done deal. It seems like an inevitable deal, but at the same time, everybody's kind of not. And I love this article too on CBS Sports that the Pac-12 had a quote unquote media day. Really, it was more of a cocktail party. They called it After Hours with the Beavs and Cougs. Which, I mean, hey, if you're going to go out with a bang and have a big time party, right?
Free food and drink.
That's all you got to say.
Yep.
The media, the free food and drink, and the media will be there in a heartbeat.
Tell me when and where.
We're cheap dates like that.
We are cheap dates like that. Finally, we started this with a nod to high schools. We'll finish it with a nod to high schools. Hal Mumme, who made his bones primarily as head coach at Kentucky, among other places. apparently, according to WCYB TV in Johnson City, we can confirm this with Heather Williams tomorrow when she comes and joins us to talk NASCAR. But apparently Hal Mummy is joining the staff at Sullivan East High School. Now, if that ain't a ringer, I don't know what is.
Man,
yeah.
I'm pulling up his wiki, man. You want to talk about a guy that's been in a lot of different places and kind of obviously everybody will remember the Air Raid Kentucky teams from back in the day, but man, this guy's he's one of those coaches. It feels like football coaches either do one of two things. They either stay at the same school or in the same organization forever, or they just bounce around every which way. And it looks like we certainly know where Hal Mummy, this guy's been all over the place. Dean Kokinos would be impressed with his resume here in terms of number of stops.
Well, it's interesting that you invoke a little indoor football because I think he was set to coach a San Antonio indoor team as well, a team that will start up next year. So I'm pretty sure it's indoor. The International Football Alliance is the league that this San Antonio team will be in. But I'm trying to pull up, and my computer isn't cooperating, but I'm trying to get some information on Sullivan East in terms of what type of success they've had of late and what they're looking at. But you would think that anytime you add somebody with the background of a Hal Mummy to a high school football coaching staff, that's gonna be a plus. So
a website on the internet tells us they went 6-5 last year, got blasted by Anderson County, which is no shame in that loss.
No, but, a lot of folks get blasted by Anderson County. Yeah.
4-6 the year before. So a couple of 500-ish type seasons. You could be 1-9 back in 21. So the last 2 years have been an improvement, but be curious to see what kind of roster they got coming back for next year. Or this year, rather.
And specifically whether they got a quarterback. So
yeah.
Let's take a break. Our final break of the day here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios, it's Top 5 Tuesday. Wade and I will give you our top 5 Major League Baseball All-Star Game moments. So stay tuned after the break.
Bluegrass Auction Associates is hosting another estate auction in White House, Tennessee on Saturday, July 20th at 10 a.m. Join Bluegrass as they sell the Judy Matthews Honeycutt Estate, conveniently located in the scenic Orchard Park subdivision. This beautiful estate includes both real estate and personal property, so everything must go. Everything will be sold on-site and in person, and a 10% buyer's premium is added to the final bid. So bid with confidence with Bluegrass Auction Associates, committed to excellence.
Here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, and it is Top 5 Tuesday, presented by the Mid-South 5 Fitness. 2 locations, one in Franklin, one in Columbia. Thalas Steel, getting you in better shape than you are in. You can find him at Steel Athletes, STEEL athletes.com. Again, Mid-South 5 Fitness, bringing you Top 5 Tuesday, and today it is our Top 5 MLB All-Star Game moments. And Wade, the floor is yours. Wade, you're on mute.
There we go.
There.
I was shouting into the echoes. Here's a huge thunder clap comes over the Pulaski Studios here. Mentioned this a couple times. I got to go number 1. The year is 1999. One of the greatest pitchers, certainly of our generation. Pedro is on the mound, and this dude fans 5 of 6 in Fenway Park. And, I mean, we're talking Barry Larkin, Larry Walker, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, and Jeff Bagwell. This dude was just humming. and it felt like he could have tossed a perfect game almost that night. And so Pedro in 99 is my all-time favorite All-Star game moment.
That final strikeout was part of a strike him out, throw him out after Matt Williams reached on an infield error. So he faced 6 batters and got 6 outs, 5 by strikeout. Setting up that Fenway Park performance for Pedro was the appearance of Ted Williams, as they were recognizing Major League Baseball's greatest players of all time. And he said with Ted Williams and Hank Aaron and some of those guys in attendance that he really wanted to go out and dominate. There's a great article today, in fact, on The Athletic on the 25th anniversary of that night.
Mo, I read an article. I didn't even know anything about this, that the Red Sox had unveiled a plan to basically renovate or tear down Fenway just 2 months prior to that game. And depending on who you believe, that epic moment with Ted Williams and everybody, and then the All-Star game being there, kind of maybe forced them to change their plans. Otherwise, we'd be talking about a new Fenway potentially.
Wow, I had not heard that. That's pretty wild. But yeah, Ted Williams and that pregame moment setting up Pedro's first 2 innings, that's my number 1. So number 2.
Number 2 for me, we're on a heater here with Ted Williams, and I wasn't around for this, but and he's got a couple of them, not surprising. Mm-hmm. But Ted Williams in 1946 goes the whole game. A couple of years after he was serving military as a fighter pilot, he comes back and says, "Nah, no big deal." He goes 4 for 4 with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. I mean, they don't obviously play the game quite like that anymore in terms of the bats and whatnot. But man, Ted Williams, 1946, an all-time performance and a memorable moment just for the aura of everything. I mean, it's just old-timey baseball.
No doubt. My number 2, and this is maybe my first memory of the All-Star game. Pittsburgh's Dave Parker in 1979. If you didn't know what kind of arm he had before the All-Star game, you knew by the time it was over, because he hosed 2 guys, one at third, one at the plate, winning MVP honors basically for his defense. I can't remember who he threw out at third, but he threw out Brian Downing at the plate from right field, and they were both things of absolute beauty. And that was just as magnificent a All-Star game performance as I've seen, again, on the defensive side of the ball. I wish I could find who he threw out at third, but I know it was Brian Downing of the Angels at the plate late in the game to preserve a National League victory back when the National League was kind of winning it every year. So Dave Parker, 1979 is my number 2.
Speaking of Rockets, this will go for my number 3. And I've been talking with our good friend Guy Schaefer, and I were talking Bo Jackson. You know, he's in the headlines. There's a new book that's out that's really garnering a lot of attention. And Guy and I were just going back and forth, and you and I have gone back and forth about how epic he was in his heyday. Mm-hmm. But a rocket was hit in 1989 where Bo Jackson was inserted at the leadoff position by Tony La Russa, and Tommy Lasorda, who was the NL manager, said it looked like he hit a golf ball. This thing went so high. Ronald Reagan was in the broadcast booth with Vin Scully, and he said it, quote, sounded different and went forever. They estimate it goes 450 feet, basically, as Bo hits the homer and then later steals second in that game. He was only the second ever player to do that at that time behind Willie Mays. So Bo Jackson leadoff dinger in 89, an all-time moment for me.
No doubt. In 2001, Hall of Famer Cal Ripken announced his retirement. He was elected to the All-Star game that year as a third baseman for the American League. Alex Rodriguez was elected as shortstop. When the American League took the field on defense, Rodriguez made Ripken go play short, where he had began his career and played for so long before moving to third later in his career. And though I'm not a huge A-Rod fan, I thought that was one of the classiest things I've seen in sports. That was really cool to see him vacate shortstop for Cal Ripken in that game. So that's my number 3.
Yep, that is an all-timer. And one of those, man, it just felt like the game was, times were simpler back then, right? And just a little gesture like that. And this is what baseball does so well, is moments like that that don't seem like a lot goes into it. But, man, when it's done well, it is fantastic. That is a great pull there. The other side of the spectrum, Mo, this is my next selection. Baseball doesn't do things right all the time, as we've discussed on this show. And if you go back to 2002, the tie that lives in infamy at Miller Park, they have to make the decision kind of on the fly in the 11th inning that if you don't run here in this bottom half, that it's going to end in a tie. And so give me the tie between the AL and the NL from 2002. Memorable for sure, maybe, although for the wrong reasons.
Well, it didn't have to be a tie, except a Barry Bonds home run in the first inning was robbed by Minnesota center fielder Torrey Hunter. And that kind of stymied the National League there and set up that tie in Milwaukee. So Torrey Hunter's over the fence grab of Barry Bonds' apparent home run is my number 4.
Yeah, Torrey, you know, the MLB execs were thinking, man, we could have really not been in this situation.
Yeah, thanks, Torrey. Appreciate you. Great catch.
Outstanding catch, and at the time, seemingly inconsequential, but oof. A couple different ones I was thinking for this last one, but since we mentioned Barry Bonds, this one kind of sticks with me. In 2003, and I'll get back to Bonds in a second, but Eric Gagne was, man, Mo, well, you can elaborate on this too. It's almost hard to put into words how dominant this dude was as the closer for the Dodgers. And he was right in the middle. He had a perfect streak going, something like in the 50s, 55 for 55, I think it says here, in save opportunities. And then poof, he gets stunned by the American League in 2003 as Garrett Anderson wins the MVP that night, as Gagne blows the save. And it's kind of one of those, it's mythological almost, just how dominant he was. And he was, he's like Rocky. He bleeds like I bleed type situation at that point. So Gagne's stunner in 2003 is my last moment here. And sorry, real quick, and I mentioned Barry Bonds, the YouTube clip of Bonds versus Gagne when they're both absolutely juiced out of their minds and going at each other. I think it's around 2003. That is an all-time YouTube clip. I will watch that anytime I get a chance.
1997, Randy Johnson's on the mound. Larry Walker's in the left-handed hitting batter's box. Johnson throws a heater over Walker's head. Walker takes off his helmet, turns it around backwards, gets into the right-handed batter's box. You won't hit me again. So that was my number 5 moment. That is our Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-South 5 Fitness. 2 great locations, one in Franklin, one in Columbia. Dallas Steele, you can find him at Steel Athletes, STEEL athletes.com. He'll get you hooked up. That's going to do it for today's episode of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We will see y'all at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Heather Williams will be joining us. Tune in.